Welcome, everyone. So excited to see you on today. We are going to talk about taxes in retirement. And I think that's really important to think about, even if you're not in retirement yet, because what are the tax consequences when you withdraw funds from retirement accounts or you sell a business or something's happening in your life that you want to avoid the taxes and you're getting closer to retirement. If you're in retirement, what can we do to lower your tax rate? Because I think that's important too. That's a risk in my view when you're paying too much in taxes. So today is my Building Foundations for Financial Wealth series. I am going to be talking about taxes in retirement. So lots of slides coming up here for you. So let me share my screen with you all. Okay, so taxes in retirement. So again, what are you doing with your particular financial house to avoid some taxes? So taxes in retirement, I think, is really important to think about, again, before you retire and even in retirement too. So let's cover all of this. I am Kelly Slott. For those of you that don't know me, I do have a radio show, Kelly's Bull Market News. I am on KNX 1070. So join there if you'd like to listen to my radio show. Those of you that know me well know that all my radio shows are on my website. So I have over 3.5 years of radio shows on my website, and each one of them is titled a little bit about what we talk about per show. So if you go to my website, californiawealthadvisors.com, and if you click over to the radio tab, click on that, scroll down a little bit, you'll find all my different radio shows. So you don't have to listen live. It does play on the weekend, but you can always go and listen to any of them when you want to at your leisure. Okay, I also wrote a book, The Great Retirement Mystery, How to Avoid the 6 Biggest Blunders. Those big blunders are for anyone. You don't have to be in retirement. I've had 20-year-olds read my book and get a lot out of it. So that's really what I intended. Let's make sure that you're avoiding those blunders. And what's one of them? Let's just give you an example of one of them. Well, who are you listening to? Are you listening to your brother's best friend's sister? And maybe they don't know everything about your particular financial house, and that's not the best place to maybe get your financial advice from. So that's one of the blunders that I see a lot of people making, but let's make sure that's not you. So when I do financial portfolios, I look at someone's total financial house. I want to make sure that you actually have a plan that's designed specifically for you, not some cookie cutter type of vehicle, not portfolio A or portfolio B or portfolio C. Let's make sure that you're actually having designed portfolios for you that is specific to you, your needs, wants, and desires, your time frame, your risk tolerance. Everything is important to tailor make it to you, because I want you to walk away with comfort and ease, either pre-retirement if you're not retired yet, or even in retirement. So let's make sure that we have a designed portfolio that's specific to you and what you need. And how I do that is through my master proprietary process. So M is the markets, A is alternatives, and S is safe money. And I came up with this diagram here a number of years ago to really help people understand how the markets work. So everything is here on the planet somewhere. So M is the markets. Yes, that's stocks, bonds, and mutual funds. Yes, it's red for a reason. It's going to go up and down with whatever markets are doing. And we've seen a lot of volatility. And it's great to have some money in the markets, in my view, for the long-term growth or even the income that those can generate and the liquidity that those can provide. So I don't mind some money in the markets, and there's reasons why, again, we choose that. But we also look at alternatives. So those are real estate programs, private placements, even oil and gas write-off programs, income, tax-free income programs can be in the alternative space as well. That's when you say, hey, Kelly, I really don't want to have all my money in the markets. I want to do something a little bit different than that. So that's where we look for those. And again, I travel the country. I go meet the CEOs I work with. I walk through the real estate they have. I ask them about their track records. So I'm very specific about which programs I choose there. But the alternative space tends to be really good to diversify a portfolio. And then, of course, we look at safe money. So those are insured products. When you say, hey, Kelly, I don't want to take any risk at all. Well, guess what? We can go to the insured products. So that's annuities, life insurance, long-term care, anything that's an insured product backed by insurance companies tends to also bring peace of mind to people as part of your portfolio. I don't usually do all of it there, But I have done all of it there when people just are really scared about anything else. So I do have webinars on annuities specifically. Again, if you go to my website, californiawealthadvisors.com, go under the resources tab, and if you scroll down there, I do have a webinar specifically on annuities that was part of my Building Foundations for Financial Wealth as well. So this whole series is to help you in an overall view. So that was one of the ones I did, because I get a lot of people ask me about annuities, and I do use them. And if you have an old annuity that's not performing well, by the way, give us a call, send us the statement, because a lot of times we can improve those for you. So I won't know that until I do some research for you, but there's a lot of things we can do there. So the mass proprietary process, it tends to bring peace of mind to folks because we're not all in the market. We're not all in one thing. All of our eggs are not in one basket. So I love doing this for people. And over the years I've been doing this, I have to say it's worked pretty well for the most part. Okay, let me talk about my private client process. So those of you new to me probably are not familiar with this. So my private client process is very exclusive. I use it for people that really want to have their overall financial house looked at and managed in a more cohesive way, rather than just your investment dollars. And I'm going to stop share here. If I can do this, there we go. Stop share. Okay. And I'm going to draw for you because I think it makes more sense when I draw. I think people understand a little bit better. So I start here as your financial director. So your financial director, I'm looking at all of your assets, not just your investment dollars. So your investment dollars and your financial house are here, and I'll talk about more of those in a minute. But our financial house is bigger than just our financial dollars here. So what am I talking about? Well, I'm looking over here, I'm looking at risk management. So what kind of risk do you have? Make sure I spell this right. Oops, and risk management. So what risk do you have in your portfolio? Okay, well, I'm looking at maybe how your assets are titled. Are they titled correctly? Can you be sued because your assets are not titled correctly? Let's make sure that doesn't happen. Do you have long-term care? Do you have life insurance? What are you going to do if you're in a medical situation? Do you have that covered? And if you don't, let's look at that. Let's look at your insurance policies, your property and casualty, and your auto as well, by the way. And then let's look at maybe Social Security. That can be a risk in your portfolio if you take it at the wrong time. So we have a lot of things we look at with risk, and you've got to protect your assets. You've got to make sure they're protected, because if they're not, then you could be sued, or you could lose things, or you could be out a lot of dollars, especially if you're in a long-term care situation and you've never really looked at it, because that can be very expensive, as many of you know. And then we're going to look over here at your estate planning documents. So estate planning, again, how your assets are titled. Do you have a medical power of attorney? Do you have a medical directive? All of these important documents need to be in your estate planning documents. And a lot of times my clients come to me and their estate planning documents are 10 years or 20 years old. And things can change. You could have grandkids, somebody could pass away. Maybe you want to leave more money to the Cancer Society or something like that. So you need to make sure your estate planning documents are up to date, your assets are titled correctly, powers of attorney are taken care of, medical directives are taken care of, all these different things are taken care of. So I am not an estate planning attorney, but I do work with a number of them that are excellent, and we look at these documents for you. Okay, then we're going to go over here to the vault, or we also call that the family office. That's where we're going to take these kind of documents, all these different declaration pages from your insurances, your estate planning documents, your driver's license, your passport. That's where we're going to put all these documents so it's in one place. So if something should happen to you, your heirs will know, hey, I need to go to Kelly, California Wealth Advisors, and get my parents' estate planning documents. I need the medical directive. I need to know these things. So that's where we keep all of this. And you have access to it, and your heirs can have access to it as well. But I love this vault. It's just a great place to be. I tell the story all the time. I had a client in Spain last year, and unfortunately she got pickpocketed. And it was before she was a client of mine. So I did not have a copy of her passport. It took her 2 weeks to get out of Spain. Now she has her passport with me. So if that ever happens again, she calls us and we send her a copy of her passport. So that will be a lot easier for her. And many of my clients do travel, so it's a great place to give you, again, peace of mind. That's what I go for most of the time is how can we bring you peace of mind in your overall financial house? Okay, your investment dollars, of course, are very important. Again, I'm going to talk about a little bit more of that in the seminar here today, or refer to my other webinars as well. But it doesn't matter if you have $1 million or $100 million here in your investment accounts, if you're not taking care of all of these other areas of your life. So make sure your assets are protected, that they're going to go to where you want them to if you should pass on, or you're going to be taken care of in the manner you want to be if something should happen to you. So again, the private client process, I do charge a different fee for this versus managing assets, but we can talk about that if you want to walk down this road with me and get this taken care of for you. But I think that's, it's just a really important thing to think about. And that really does differentiate me from other advisors, because most other advisors are going to put you in portfolio A, B, or C. I've already told you with my mass proprietary process, I never do that. And then looking at your entire financial house as well. And I will tell you, most advisors don't look at that either. So, so let's make sure you're taken care of. Okay, let me go back to my slides here. Okay, so the private client process, by all means, call us if that's of interest to you. Okay, let's talk about our topics tonight. We're going to talk about taxation of retirement accounts. We're going to talk about strategies to reduce, avoid, and defer taxes. Excuse me, I'm losing my voice already. I want to talk about common mistakes that I see retirees make. So let's try and avoid some of those. I want to do a comprehensive retirement planning and take into considerations that you might need to look at. And then we're talking about some case studies. I think that'll be really interesting as well. Okay, so understanding taxation and retirement. Okay, 401ks, traditional IRAs, anything that's a retirement type of account, let's just say, you do have required minimum distributions at currently at age 73. Over the next couple of years, it's going to go up to age 75, that you have to start taking out a certain dollar amount. That's taxable when you take money out of those accounts. Again, 401ks, IRAs, 457s, 403bs, any of those pensions, those are all accounts that you have to take money out of once you turn 73. You don't have to take anything out before that. And it usually starts around 4% a year. So let's just say you had $1 million in a 401k account, you'd have to take out around $40,000 that first year. Now, you may not need that money, and I'll talk about more how to avoid that, but it's a government requirement that you have to take those dollars out. We can also look at Roth IRAs. So those are contributions made to retirement accounts that are not taxed. So you put money in there. I'm sorry, let me rephrase that. The money that you put into a Roth has already been taxed. So the money you take out of the Roth is not taxed. So they're great because they grow tax-free. You take money out tax-free. And guess what? You do not have to take out those required minimum distributions either. So once you turn 73 and you have a Roth account, you don't have to take any money out if you don't want to. And if you do take money out, it's tax-free. I like that. That's good. SEP IRAs, so simplified employee pension plans, those are retirement accounts as well. My self-employed individuals a lot of times set up those. You can have a SEP IRA and a simple. Those are two different kinds of IRAs. And usually I rely on the CPAs to tell us which one is better for that client, because I don't know all your tax write-offs and everything that go on along in your business, but I do help you set those up. The contributions to the SEP IRAs and the simples are pre-tax. So you get to write that off of your taxes, which is great. But then when you take the money out, it's taxed as ordinary income. Again, you have to take money out when you're 73 from those types of accounts. Okay, Social Security and taxation. Now, this is interesting because a lot of people are not aware of this. So you can be taxed on Social Security. Yes, you can. They base it on the combined income of your adjusted gross income and your non-taxable interest, again, municipal bonds or any tax-free income that you get. And then they add half of your Social Security benefits in there. So here's the income thresholds here I have. So below 25,000 and you're filing singly, or if you're 32,000 is what you make a year and you file married, then there's no taxes on Social Security. However, goes up from there. 25 to 34,000 single, or 32 to 44,000 married, up to 50% of your Social Security can be taxed. And then if you make above 34,000 and you're single, or you're above 44,000 and you're married, up to 85% of Social Security can be taxed. So let's just make sure you're aware of this when you start taking your Social Security out. Okay, let's talk about taxes and capital gains. So capital gains, when you have an asset, and let's say it's ABC stock, and you own it for less than a year, and let's say you buy it for $10 a share and it goes up to $20 a share, and you sell it within that year, then you have tax at ordinary income that gain. You don't get any benefits from that. Now, if you wait long term, so that's a year and a day, and you buy ABC stock at $10 a share, you sell it at $20 a share a year and a day later, then your taxes are better. You don't have to pay ordinary income taxes. You can pay either no taxes, depending on your tax bracket, 15% or 20% of that gain in taxes, rather than 25 or 35 or even 50% of ordinary taxes you would have to pay if it's a short-term gain. Now let's talk about dividends. So qualified dividends can be taxed again better at 0, 15, or 20%, which is great. But ordinary dividends or non-qualified dividends can be taxed as ordinary income as well. I would defer to your CPA because, again, I don't know what all your tax consequences might be or tax write-ups you might have elsewhere. Okay, let's talk about strategies to reduce, avoid, and defer taxes. I always like that. Okay, so Roth conversions. Roth conversions are great. So that's when you have a retirement account, and let's just say it's an IRA, and you have, let's say you have $1 million in there, and you really don't want to take out that 4% once you turn 73. Again, 4% is the RMD amount at age 73. Well, you can start to do a Roth conversion. Now, maybe you take out 10,000 or 20,000, or even I've had clients do 100,000 in a year from a retirement account, let's say it's an IRA, to a Roth. But again, you have to pay taxes on what you transfer over into the Roth. That's ordinary taxes you have to pay on that. But I usually tell people, if you didn't work for a year, or you had a medical situation, you weren't working, your income might be lower, or right when you retire, maybe the year after you retire, your income is going to be lower because you're not working. That might be a good time to do a Roth conversion. So at some point, when you have a lower income year, is usually a better time to do that Roth conversion. Again, I love those Roths because you don't have to take out those RMDs. Plus, it's a great estate planning tool as well, because whatever you have in the Roth goes to your heirs tax-free. That's nice. There's not a lot of things I can say that about, but that's really nice, a nice tool for that. Okay, asset location. I think this is important too. Where are your assets? Are they in taxable accounts? So you're going to pay taxes on all these types of accounts. Are they in tax deferred accounts that you're not paying taxes on yet? For instance, retirement accounts or pension accounts. Or do you have tax-free income flowing to you? Again, Roth IRAs, or maybe I do have oil and gas programs that pay tax-free income. I have, municipal bonds and different things like that that can pay tax-free income as well. So where are your assets? Where are they located? Do we need to move that around a little bit to take some advantages of those? And tax harvesting, this is important too. So that's when you're selling investments at a loss to offset any gains that you might have. So you buy ABC stock and it goes down in value. You buy XYZ stock and it goes up in value. You might want to be able to sell the one that's lower, or even sell the one that's higher, to offset those gains against each other. So again, I do defer to your CPA for some of this as well. And if you have only losses, you didn't take any gains, you have only losses, you can only use 3% annually. I'm sorry, $3,000 annually to offset any kind of income you have or something that you want to offset that with. So again, I like deferring to CPAs for some of these questions, or bring them at least into the conversation. Okay, qualified charitable distributions. This is a way to avoid taxes as far as your IRAs or your retirement accounts go as well. So that's when you have, let's say, $1 million in an IRA, and as my example I used earlier, you have to take out 4% or $40,000 once you turn 73, and you don't need the $40,000. You really don't want to pay taxes on it. Well, you can take that $40,000 and send it directly to a qualified charity. It has to be a qualified charity. To reduce paying any taxes on that. So that $40,000, you say, hey, Kelly, I want to send this to the Cancer Society. we take it directly from the IRA. You can't take constructive receipt of the check. We take it from the IRA, we send it to the Cancer Society. That's considered an RMD. You satisfied that, but you didn't have to pay taxes on any of that money. I like that too. That's good. The health savings accounts are good too. You do have to have a highly deductible health insurance policy to be able to do that. But if you have one, you can make pre-tax contributions, so no taxes to put contributions in there. You can write that off your taxes, which is great. It's going to grow for you tax-free, which is great. And then when you take money out to pay for your medical expenses, that's tax-free as well. So not everybody can do one of those, but I did want to bring that to your attention. Okay, what are the common mistakes I see that retirees make? And let's see, failure to plan for the RMDs. I have a lot of people that do that. They don't even realize they have to take out RMDs. So let's make sure, I mean, I have, my staff is very good at having a whole list of people that we have that need to take out RMDs and how much they need to take it out. So the first year that you turn 73, you don't have to take it out until April of the following year. But then that means you have to take 2 out in 1 year. And I don't usually like that because, again, it's usually a taxable event for most folks. So let's make sure you're actually planning to take the RMD. You know what you're going to do. You're either going to pay the taxes or you're going to send the money directly to the Cancer Society or somewhere. So let's make sure you don't miss that, because if you do, you can have huge penalties that you have to pay by missing that. I had a client a few years ago, and she had some IRAs and CDs at the bank that she didn't have me manage, which was fine. Then she had, some money with me, and I was managing in her retirement account, and she was over 73. So I called her in December and I said, have you taken money out of your IRAs at the bank? And she said, oh yeah, I satisfied all that. I don't need to take out any from the one with you. My CPA said I don't need to take any with you. I said, okay, great. But I'm thorough. So I called her a few weeks later. Again, this is about December 15th, because you have to take it out by December 31st. I said, I'm just checking back with you. You have to satisfy your RMDs. You don't need to take out any from the one here. She says, no, my CPA says everything's fine. Great. January 15th. Believe it or not, she called me and she said, well, my CPA said I have to take out $10,000 from the IRA I have with you. I said, well, you do realize that you now have huge penalties you have to pay and taxes you have to pay on top of that because you didn't take it out by December 31st. And I wasn't happy to have to tell her that, but it was the truth. And I hope she gave the CPA her mind actually on that one. But let's make sure we don't miss RMDs when we have to take them out, by when we have to take it out, and how much we have to take out. We want to make sure we're avoiding that. Don't forget that there are tax implications of what you take out of these retirement accounts as well. So the withdrawals can impact certainly your taxes. It can affect your Social Security benefits, right? It's going to be taxed as ordinary income when we take out money from IRAs or pensions or 401ks. So let's make sure we're not taking out too much, because we don't want to be thrown into a higher tax bracket because we took out too much. I have had clients over the years that want to help their children, for instance, buy a house. Well, they need $200,000, $500,000 to help their children do that, because California is expensive here. And a lot of times, most of their assets are in retirement accounts. Well, if they take out $200,000 or $500,000 from a retirement account, that's a huge tax hit you're going to have to pay on that. So I always encourage people to try not to do that. So let's be aware of any taxes that we have when we're going to take withdrawals out of these types of accounts. Don't forget about state taxes. Unfortunately, California has huge state taxes, so can go up to 13% or so. So let's make sure that we account for that. We're not just looking at federal, for instance. So let's be smart with what money we're taking out of what account. I always try and do this, some tax managing for clients. If they have a large IRA or 401k and they have a large trust account or outside accounts as well, well, where are we taking money out of, and how can we best do that as far as taxes go to avoid some of those taxes? There are tax write-off programs I have as well to mitigate some of those withdrawals that you might have to take, but we can talk about that a little bit later. So let's make sure you're not ignoring any kind of tax situation that might happen when you take money out of retirement accounts. Okay, let's look at comprehensive retirement planning considerations here. All right, income planning. That's probably what I do 80% of my day is manage income for folks when they get closer to retirement. So I have $1 million in my 401k, I have $2 million in my trust account. I need to create income. How can I create income off of these accounts to satisfy my budget? So that goes to you. I talked about earlier, tailor making things for you. I'm always going to ask, what's your budget? How much are you spending every month? What do I need to manage to? And then I'm going to look at your assets and plan for income from that. So your income, right? I'm going to look at how much do you need? What accounts do we have? What's your risk tolerance? What's your time frame? Maybe you have rental properties. Maybe you're taking Social Security. There's all sorts of different income sources people have. So we're going to look at all of these. And we're going to come up with, again, a strategy that's tailor-made for you to help manage the risk and the diversification, create the stability perhaps you're looking for. Again, managing risk, that's important to do. What kind of risk do you have in your overall financial house? Do you have long-term care risk? If something should happen to you and you're in a long-term care facility, it's really expensive. What are you doing to mitigate that? Do you have a long-term care policy? Do you have emergency funds? I always tell people, have at least 6 months of your living expenses, your budget, 6 months of that in a bank account. And I have, money market accounts that pay pretty good now, but let's make sure it's liquid for you if you ever need it. Let's make sure your estate planning documents are up to date. And I do work with estate planning attorneys that make sure your estate planning documents are up to date. I'm not an attorney, but I have a number I work with because we want to make sure that you've got your medical power of attorney, your will, your trust documents are up to date, your beneficiaries are named, make sure that your assets are titled correctly. So let's make sure these things are covered for you, right? And let's look at your lifestyle too. Maybe you're spending more now than you would when you retire, and that's coming up with a budget sheet. And I have that on my website, californiawealthadvisors.com. There's a budget sheet you can print out for yourself on there. So I always tell people, do one now while you're still working, figure out what your budget is now, and then do another one for what you think it might be when you retire. And again, it might be less in retirement, but it might be more as well. But let's know that ahead of time. That's the planning we like to do, right? We want to make sure you have a happy, healthy retirement, right? So let's make sure you're on the road to that. Okay, let's look at some case studies because I think these are fascinating for folks, and you might find yourself in one of these. So the scenario is John and Mary, they're retirees who have a diverse portfolio of retirement accounts, including a traditional IRA, a Roth IRA, a taxable brokerage account, and they need to withdraw funds to cover their living expenses in retirement. Again, this is what we do probably 80–90% of our day. Their questions is they're unsure of how to withdraw funds in a tax efficient manner while minimizing their overall tax liability. Okay, what's the solutions here? Well, we're going to use the taxable brokerage account first, because again, it's ordinary income when you take money out of the IRA. So it doesn't say the age here of John and Mary, but let's assume they're under 73. So my suggestion will probably be, let's set up the outside retirement accounts and let's create income off of that. And if I can do tax advantage in some way, that would be great too. A lot of my real estate programs are tax advantage. My oil and gas programs are tax advantage as far as income goes. So let's look at those. Maybe we're going to convert some traditional IRA to a Roth. Again, it depends on your income for those years. And then we're absolutely going to look at Social Security, when to take that, when's the best time to take that. So I want to make sure John and Mary here have a lower tax burden as we possibly can get while optimizing the income flow that we can get for them. So again, there's a number of things we can do here. And again, I like that diversification for John and Mary here to make sure all their assets are creating income for them, maybe tax advantage income as well. Okay, let's look at Sarah, the Roth conversion strategy. So Sarah's 60, she's planning for retirement and has a substantial balance in her traditional IRA. She's concerned about the impact of the requirement minimum distribution in her future taxes that she might have to pay. So let's look at these options to reduce and delay some of the taxes that she might have to take and be a legacy passing tool for her heirs as well. So let's look at the different tax brackets that she might be in. The annual conversions she can do. Now, she's not retired yet, so she's still working. Okay, well, maybe it's 10,000 a year, maybe it's $20,000 a year. We take out of the IRA and put it into a Roth. Again, it's a taxable event when we do that. But now that money's growing for her tax-free and tax-deferred. Again, it's a great estate planning tool because whatever dollars we can get into those Roth go to your heirs tax-free. That's great. I just love that as, again, part of a portfolio. And if you want to take care of your heirs as well. And you can name your grandchildren as the beneficiaries of those Roth accounts as well. That's kind of a nice tool to maybe take care of college expenses for a grandchild, for instance. So again, we're going to strategically look at Sarah's accounts here. How much can we move each year? Make sure she doesn't go into that next highest tax bracket to reduce that future tax liability. So, again, strategies we look at here. Okay, let's look at comprehensive retirement income planning. So Tom and Lisa, they're both 65. They're nearing retirement and have multiple sources of income, including a Social Security, a pension, and investment accounts. This is great. So their issues is they're concerned about managing their various income streams in a tax efficient manner while ensuring that their retirements last throughout their lifetime. Okay, lasting throughout their lifetime is important. What are we going to do for that? Well, if we go back to the S part of my mass proprietary process, that's the safe section. When we invest in those investments down there, typically fixed index annuities, variable annuities even, but fixed annuities can be good as well. We're going to have, or we can set up income guaranteed for your life. And we can also set it up for income that will be inflation hedge as well. I can't say that about a lot of investments. So that's a nice tool to use. So maximizing Social Security, when are we going to take it? What's the best age for you to take it at? I usually request people bring me their SSA.gov, socialsecurity.gov page, because it shows if you take Social Security at 62, 66, 70, what's the best age to take it at? And again, we base it on what other income sources do you have and when do you need these funds? So Tom and Lisa here, they're both age 65. Well, they're not taking Social Security yet, so that's good because every year that you wait, you get about 8% more per year. So let's make sure we're actually taking money out of Social Security or not starting Social Security until it's actually absolutely beneficial for you. By the way, do not wait until you're over age 70. There is no benefit to waiting for that. So if you're 71, I had a radio show caller recently, and he was 71. He said, oh yeah, I haven't started taking Social Security yet. And I said, no, there's no benefit for you to wait. So take it when you're 70 at least. So we want to look at managing the RMDs and the tax liabilities for that. We're going to balance the taxable and the tax deferred and the tax-free income sources you might have. And again, looking at annuities for income that can be generated and guaranteed by insurance companies for your life. That's nice. So let's optimize all of this for you to ensure that financial security that you might be looking for. Okay, estate planning and tax efficiency, again, huge as part of my private client process as well. So James and Emily here, they're both 70. They have accumulated substantial assets, including retirement accounts, investment portfolios, and real estate properties. This is a very typical client of mine, I have to say. They are concerned about minimizing estate taxes and ensuring their assets are transferred efficiently to their heirs. Again, many of my clients are concerned about this. So we want to integrate the estate planning, the tax planning strategies. We want to review the current estate plan documents, the wills, the trusts, who the beneficiaries are, how the assets are going to be transferred. We want to minimize those taxes, certainly avoid probate by all means. We want to avoid that. So that goes to the titling. Again, back to my private client process. I want to make sure your assets are titled correctly. If you have a rental property, it's in the name of your trust, that does not stop you from being sued. It does help your assets not go through probate, which is great. But the other half of that equation, if somebody hurts themselves on that rental property, you can be sued for not only that rental property, but any other rental property, your primary place of residence, anything that you have titled in your trust, for instance, is fair game. So let's make sure your assets are titled correctly. We have set up the right partnerships, the limited partnerships that might be necessary for that to make sure your assets are taken care of. We're also going to look at, do you want your assets to go to a charity? So let's make sure those documents are set up correctly. So again, looking at the comprehensive estate planning strategies, the documents. We want to potentially reduce any taxes you might have, especially estate planning taxes for your heirs. Protect those assets, certainly, and ensure that their legacy and their goals are according to whatever wishes they might have. So again, this is part of the overall comprehensive financial planning that we have. So questions and answers, please type in for me in the chat box here, or you can send me an email, any questions that you might have. I'm not going to take the time now in the interest of time, but if you have questions, by all means, send them to me and I'll get back to you with the answers there. So let's do a review here. So we want to look at 401ks, traditional IRAs, Roths, how best to utilize these for you, looking at those required minimum distributions as well. We want to implement strategies that might make sense for you. Where are these assets placed? Are they in taxable accounts or tax advantaged accounts? Looking at the health savings accounts, looking at charitable contributions from your IRA to a charity. We want to avoid the pitfalls of not taking out the RMDs in the correct way and the correct amount too, by the way. So let's avoid any kind of withdrawal strategies that you might get hit with if you don't do it correctly. And you want to consider really your holistic, sustainable streams of income. We want to make sure this is designed appropriate for you. The investment strategies are appropriate for you, your risk tolerance, your time frame, your long-term and healthcare needs, your estate planning needs that you might have, your legacy passing needs you might have. Make sure this is all tailor-made to you. And again, that's what we specialize in here at California Wealth Advisors. I do have a lot of events that I do. I know you can't read this, but go to my website, californiawealthadvisors.com. I have a lot of events I have up there, all sorts of different topics. I have a number of recorded webinars on different topics. I mentioned the annuity one I did recently. I have a number of other ones up there as well. So check the upcoming events page on my website for any future meetings I'm going to have. If you want to learn how your tax situation might affect you, how you might be able to avoid some taxes, then I would say call us. Let's get yourself on our calendar. If you're serious about needing some help, please be serious about needing some help. I'd love to sit down with you. I like that first meeting to be in Anaheim or my Santa Barbara office. I want to get to know you, and I want you to get to know me too. So let's make sure we set up that first meeting. My staff is waiting for your call right now. Our phone number 805-941-0444. Give us a call. Love to meet with you. Again, I like that first meeting to be in person, but we can have phone calls as well. So thank you for joining us. Again, Building Foundations for Financial Wealth is my series here. And next one will be in about 3 months or so. So check back to the website for that as well. By all means, have a great day. Take care.